I don't know if I can sing for an hour, but I'm gonna try because no one joined me in here. Do 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 do. All right. Hey, that was the musical stylings of Smeggy. This is my Night Strike impersonation, Um, hey, another person joined me. Hooray. So all right, I'm gonna go ahead and this is Hit or Miss, episode 45. I'm gonna introduce the panelists, because I'm still being Night Strike now, and he always says a lot, so that's about the only thing I can do. I'm not trying to actually do his voice. So I'll start off with the first guest, which is Matt. What's going on, buddy?
Not a whole lot. Just enjoying a nice day in the land of the free, home of the brave.
Nice, very cool, very cool. You want to plug anything?
Freedom and liberty.
Awesome, awesome. All right, the next panelist here on Hit or Miss is Smeggy, reporting for duty. Hey, that's my line, what the hell, That's what I always say. Yeah, I know, Night Strike. That's funny. I'm stealing your line.
I guess he doesn't have power from the storm. Is that where he's been at?
Last I heard, he didn't have power.
That sucks.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. I'm gonna stop the whole impersonating Night Strike thing now because, I was just doing it because I thought I was gonna be all by myself, and I figured I could have a conversation with two people and just like talk to the voices in my head, but I don't have to.
Then when you fill out a 4473, they're like, "Oh, well, we got some records that you were talking to yourself for over an hour. So, are you sure you haven't been mentally adjudicated?"
Yeah, never been in court, so I might be crazy, but I've never been found crazy, so that works out okay for me.
Could be a catch-22 though.
Yeah, probably. Although I don't know, I don't know. That's something to talk about. Everyone always says that the catchphrase is you don't want crazy people to have guns, and that sounds good on the surface. You're like, yeah, because crazy. Oh my God, I'm starting to say a whole bunch. I've ruined myself. Anyways, maybe I always have, and I just am noticing it now. Anyways,
well, what's crazy?
Exactly. That's thank you for getting my point because I was losing track here because I'm trying to do 5 things at once. Yeah, who decides what's crazy? And I think honestly, there's a lot of mentally handicapped people that maybe have some type of mental disorder or some learning disability or something that are not violent at all and would be perfectly fine and perfectly safe handling a gun. And all those people, it's like, nope, it's you can't have one. And I honestly think that their game plan is to get as many people on the prohibited persons list as possible. And they're doing that in conjunction with all of these background checks and all that stuff because it makes sense. That's another one, right? Hey, you don't want, criminals and crazy people to get guns. We have to do a background check on them. Like, that makes sense. And most people go along with that. They think, yeah, okay. And I think that's a problem because really that's just, oh man, I just broke my knife. That's just like an excuse to, take away people's rights. And
yeah, like I worked with a bunch of guys that were like had been in the Marine Corps, and they all had some level of PTSD, but they owned firearms, and like a lot of them had concealed carry. So, and it's like you shouldn't deny that right to people, especially the military, as long as they're not like crazy.
Right. Well, and the other thing that I think a lot of people, I don't know, like it's just kind of weird, but there could be there could be people that at one point in their life, especially if you're talking maybe like depression, right? So there's suicide risk, and you want to take the guns away from someone who might be a suicide risk, maybe their friends or family or whatever, because that's another one where there's that the firearm temporary protection or something, where it's basically like you take a temporary restraining order against firearms. So they basically someone close to you, and I think it says like friends, family, coworkers, which that can be a broad amount of people. Like just some person you talk to, do they count as your friend now? Like now they can go to a judge and say, I think this person is a risk to themselves or others. They take your guns away, and then your trial is like within a month or a couple months or something. But until then, like the day one, they come and take all your guns, and then you might get them back if you can prove yourself to be okay. So it's kind of a whole guilty till proven innocent thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you that this point in the game, they haven't been able to get anything legislatively done. So now they're going after like anything they can dig up to just try to get people disarmed. But
Right.
it's like, what's crazy? Like some people will look at Ted Nugent and be like, that guy's crazy. He's running around with machine guns. He must be crazy if he wants machine guns. But it's like, no, that's like kick ass. Whereas like I think people who are diehard Clinton supporters, they got to be crazy.
Yeah, they probably are. Um, yeah, and that's what I was getting to. My point. Like the temporary thing. Like there might be people that at one point are maybe depressed, and maybe they would have taken their life if they had a gun, and because they didn't take their life. Now I still believe. Where did I hear that recently? Oh, I think it might have been on the We Like Shooting show. They were talking doctors for responsible gun owners or something like that. It's the good one. There's a doctor group that's a good one. I know they spoke at the Firearm Policy Convention, and I'm sorry I forgot their name, but there's some study that was talking about, like 80% of, firearm attempted suicides are successful. And that's I've seen that stat before, and that's what people say. Oh yeah, because firearms they're so effective, and that's why the suicide rate is bad. Because someone who tries to kill themselves by taking pills, they have a success rate of 8% or something, but firearms is 80%. I made up that second. Well, actually, I made up both those numbers. I don't really remember off the top of my head, but it's a lot. Well, this study started looking at it, and people who jump off of bridges or buildings, people who throw themselves off trains, and people who use firearms have all about the same success rate. So
Yeah.
even if you got rid of all the guns in the world, like the magic boom, they were never invented, they don't exist, then there would still be people, if they want to do it, they would find a way to do it in a way that works. And I honestly think the type of people that say they attempted it by doing a bunch of pills, they either do it in a way where they know they'll be found, and then they'll end up being saved. And so subconsciously, they're not actually trying to kill themselves. They're more just trying to get the attention of that. Or the dude, you call up the ex-girlfriend and be like, I'm going to shoot myself. Bye. And then they hang up, and then they wait 15 minutes, and all of a sudden, knock on the door. Oh no, I got interrupted. You saved me. Like that's those types of people that would, in the anti-gunners' minds, would be like failed suicide attempts, therefore a good thing because they don't want people to kill themselves, which I mostly agree with that. I want people to be alive. Like I think that people should stay alive and stuff, but at the same time, I guess part of me is also like, well, if they don't want to, then I guess they don't want to.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that firearms has it going against itself is they say like 90% of people that attempt suicide and they aren't successful, they never try it again. Whereas like, you shoot yourself, you're probably going to die. But
Right.
it's like
Well,
I
and
think
that's
in Japan, it was either Japan or South Korea. They have like the highest suicide rate, and they use like insecticides. They just drink a bunch of insecticides. So
right. I mean,
if
what
we
it
ban
comes
guns,
down
it's not
to
going to end suicides.
exactly. And if it stops just one, blah blah blah, whatever. I
Yeah.
get that.
Okay.
You're trying to help. And that's where I think a lot of them maybe are just like good intentioned, but really it is not the tool. You have to fix the whole trying it in the first place thing. And I have heard that stat too. You know, the people that are unsuccessful rarely try a second time. And so their whole point is we need to stop them, you know, the first time so that they never try again. But like I said, that just goes to okay, great. People also, again, the ones that jump off bridges and buildings and throw themselves in front of trains and all that stuff have just a high success rate the first time as someone who uses a firearm. So
Yep.
if they didn't exist, you'd have those same number of people that actually wanted to would still succeed 80% of the time. And those other 20 would not try again. Like, okay, that's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah. When we were in New Mexico last summer for our school project, G-Webs might know it's a bridge over the Rio Grande Rift. It's like 700 feet down, and the nickname's the Bridge of Death because so many people go out there and jump off it. And towards the middle of the span, there's actually a call box, and it says like, "You are not alone. Press this button, and get help." Yada yada. And I thought it was for like people that got out there and got freaked out by the heights, and they're like, "Oh no, that's for suicide victims."
Right. Yeah, and it's obviously a complicated issue, and I'm not against trying to stop suicide. Like I think that
Oh yeah,
that's
no,
and but again, here's part of the problem because mental illness is so, you know, stigmatized. There are probably people that are like, I'm feeling kind of bummed. I should talk to someone. Well, I don't want to do that because then people will call me crazy. So then they don't get the help they need. You know, I mean, I think that's a lot like the PTSD and stuff. People don't want to admit they have it because of like the stuff that goes along with it. So they don't get the help that they actually need.
yeah, I think like it's like you said, the mental illness parts, stigmatized, which is why I think, the gun grabbers are just pushing. It's like, no, we got to stigmatize the gun. It's the gun's fault. It's not the person's fault. And I think that's like part of the problem is they just want to blame the firearm for everything and not the individual person.
Right. It's exactly. And that's um but again, that's the game plan of the anti-gunners of trying to get rid of as many guns as possible is they'll just keep adding people to the list and then keep making, you know, uh so I think it was in the Daily Show, right? They were talking about the background checks coming to Nevada. It's going to be on the
Yeah.
ballot. And I don't know, I typed in there like 5 million times. I guess they didn't read the chat, but it's in Maine as well. They're also voting on it in Maine. So that's important for people to remember. Like they need help too, defending their rights. But I think Dano said something like once Bloomberg gets enough states, you know, his theory is that he'll come out and say, well, look, it works so good in all these other states, we should just do it nationwide. And unfortunately, I know the pro freedom people, their gut reaction will be like, it doesn't work in those states. Look, no one's been prosecuted, blah, 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 blah. And it's a great 1-2 punch for the Bloombergs because they're going to say, oh, you know what? You're right. It hasn't worked the way we wanted it to. We need a registry in order for it to work because we can't
Yep.
prove that these people are transferring or selling on a certain date. So they should have to have a registry. And then that way, if the gun's not in their name, we know they bought it from a private person. And, you know, that's, I think a lot of people think that like guns should have a name attached to it. And then, you know, it should be tracked every time it changes hands. And I think that's very scary as far as confiscation and whatnot. But I'm kind of putting myself in the brain of trying to talk to like a middle person or a hunter or something, because how do you make them understand that the registry is bad? Because if you like confiscation, Hitler or Stalin, blah blah blah, they go, okay, you're crazy, and they shut their brain off. They don't listen to you anymore. It's the same thing. You can't just run up to some dude and yell, Second Amendment shall not be infringed. Even though we're right, they turn their brain off. They say, oh, this Alex Jones dude, no one fucking cares, and they shut their brain off.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna say the Alex Jones outburst.
yeah, exactly. And as much as I agree with what he was trying to say, and I agree with those sentiments, they're not necessarily the best tactic to convincing some people.
No, screaming at Pierce Morgan is never a good tactic, but that fucktard's gone, so I guess we don't have to worry about him anymore.
Right, but there's many more that are exactly like him. And the sad thing is when people get on the news, the anchors know they can push the buttons in just the right way to make the guy start yelling and Second Amendment, 1776, blah blah blah. And that's all the general public hears is crazy person wants to kill the government or something. And so therefore, yeah, I agree. That guy shouldn't have a gun. And now we've just lost a person.
Yeah, I always liked. I think he's the president of Gunners of America, Larry Pratt, because he's like calm and cool, and they try to do the same thing. They try to get him riled up, and he's just like, "No, I'm not gonna fall for that shit."
Right, exactly. Yeah, I like him a lot. He's good because they'll say something. He'll be like, "Well, that's inaccurate. Actually, it's 34%." Blah, blah. Like he has the numbers, and sometimes that's dry. But if they're attacking us with statistics, we have to have our own to say, "Well, your numbers are wrong. These are the correct ones, and here's why." And then on a philosophical level, that's where you have to change their mind of it's okay to rely on yourself. Like you don't just have to call the cops. You should be able to defend yourself as well.
Yeah, I always got a kick how the people that were like, "We don't need police," or "We need more police," are the same ones that are like, "We don't need guns," or like, "You want less guns, but you want more cops, but then you hate cops. So what do you
Right.
want?"
Yeah, cops are evil and they kill innocent people all the time, but we
Yeah,
also want only the cops to have guns.
exactly.
It's like, wait a minute. Like,
It's like I try to explain because my dad's a hunter, so he's kind of a FUD, and my mom's like super anti-gun. And I was trying to explain to her like why I had a problem with like universal background checks. And I'm just like, if I brought that gun home and like handed it to you, technically we just broke the law because it's not very well established what exactly a transfer is in a lot of these states. Like they leave it ambiguous so they can prosecute the people they want to prosecute and not prosecute the people they don't want to prosecute.
right. And that's one of the things I've heard is that when you bring that up, they go, oh, well, no one's ever been caught with the whole transfer thing. So, like, don't worry about it. It's fine that it says it's illegal, but we're not going to prosecute you. And it's like, you
Yeah.
might not now, but wait till it's established everywhere. And then all of a sudden they're going to start cracking down. And when you say, wait a minute, I thought you said you weren't going to do this, they'll be like, well, it's what the words in the law, the letter of the law says transfer. You did a transfer. Therefore, you're in trouble.
Yeah, it's like marijuana laws. Like Obama's like, oh, I'm not going to prosecute you, but it's like, how much can you trust that guy?
Right. Or just any of the governments or any of the future governments. That's one of the things that I don't know. I don't feel like getting that political, but both sides do it. Like when, George Bush is signing executive orders, Republicans were like, yeah, the president can do whatever he wants. He's awesome. And then when Obama does it, they're like, no, the president sucks. He can't do anything. And I'd like to be consistent of saying, I don't care who's in power. I want them to have as little power as possible. And that goes state level and senators and, everybody. Like, I want the government to have as little power as needed. I think they do provide a role for some things, but the reason I don't want them to have too much power is because eventually someone's going to get in office that, doesn't agree with you. And if you were cheerleading saying, yeah, they should have all the power in the world, then when the other people get in, you're going to be pissed that they have all that power.
Yeah, I feel like the federal government's role should be national defense and making sure states don't pass laws that go against the Constitution, and very little else.
I could agree with that.
Like, I don't know. I guess having like a FDA around is probably not a bad idea because I don't want like people parts in my sausage. So
Right. And even that, like, that can be used for harm as well. If they want to go after a certain thing, like,
yeah,
there's all sorts of regulations that make it hard to, like, you say, okay, you want the FDA and stuff, but then there's also that whole, like, unpasteurized milk, you can't sell it because, like, it doesn't meet the standards. And part of me is like, well, if the people buying it are knowingly buying it, like, they know what they're getting into, if that's what they want for whatever reason, if they think it's healthier or whatever, well, they're taking those risks on themselves. And if they get sick, they can't go bitch at the farmer and say, hey, I got sick. They just go, well, that sucked. I made a stupid choice. I'm all for you make a choice and you live with the consequence.
yeah. Although I think those days are coming to an end. I could keep like the college crowd now. I mean, they just want free shit and they don't care who has to pay for it as long as they're getting what their demands are. And these people are eventually going to have to run for office as the old politicians die out. So it's kind of a scary thought. Like maybe they'll get more conservative as they get older, but some of those people are so die hard, I doubt they ever will.
Well, I've always heard it. If you're a conservative when you're in college, you have no heart. And if you're not one by the time you graduate, you have no brain.
Yeah, I've heard, you go to college as a liberal and you leave, like the older you get, you leave, you get more conservative over time.
Yeah. When you have a shitty job and you're the one getting free stuff, it's awesome. Once you get a real job and they're taking all your money to give to other people who don't have anything, you start going, wait a minute, this sucks.
Yeah, like I can only imagine like how big of hippies my parents were in the 60s, and I'm sure if they saw like how college students act today, they would just like lose their fucking mind.
Yeah. Well, I was a libertarian since high school. Ever since in my government class, we had to run a fake campaign for a candidate, and like half the group were like ran the Republican one, and half the class did like Democrats, and me and two other friends, we ran the Libertarian one. And I was like, dude, this totally makes sense. Like this, the government shouldn't tell you what to do. I'm on board. Awesome.
Yeah, that's like the main thing. It's like, do you want a government to tell you, like Bloomberg, like, oh, you can only drink 16 ounces of soda at one time? Or do you want the freedom to, get fat and get diabetes?
Right? As long as you don't bitch about it after the fact, and you don't try and then take my stuff because you made a bad choice. Then
that's how I feel about, government's role is. They should just let you do whatever you want to as long as it's not harming anyone else to a certain extent.
Right. Okay, but now we got down the rabbit hole. Guns and stuff. Guns are cool. Oh, I found this article earlier. It's short. I want to go through it because I like doing that, and I don't care if people don't like it. Because this is my show tonight. No one can tell me what to do. So I just posted it. Basically, this is the headline. Glock Remington sue to stop Massachusetts investigation of gun safety. So obviously it's Glock and Remington suing Massachusetts. There was really only one part in there. Basically, the Massachusetts Attorney General wants to investigate possible safety problems with guns manufactured by the companies. And the gun makers are like, nah, it's just an attempt to like cripple the industry or just like be a nuisance or whatever. Do, 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 do.
I'm reading it. It's unaware that it was loaded, he pulled the trigger. It barely missed the first
Oh
deputy.
yeah,
Like
that's
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 common sense.
the one I wanted to get to. So you have to read the first part of that so people figure that
Oh,
out. Where?
one
Okay, so
day, one deputy brought the handgun in the halls of justice and handed it to another deputy, who, asking how it worked, pointed it at the first deputy. The Massachusetts AG office responded, contented, unaware it was loaded. He pulled the trigger. It barely missed the first deputy.
right, so that is one of the examples the attorney general is using for why Glocks are not safe because it worked how intended. When you pull the trigger of a loaded gun, it goes bang.
This is a Keltec.
Well, okay, that might be a safety feature then, right? If it doesn't work. But yeah, exactly. So that's the type of stuff they want to investigate. There was another one that was talking about it was an LAPD cop who was paralyzed when his son accidentally fired his Glock, and as well as a widely reported story of a 32-year-old man who was packing a Glock pistol in his pocket that went off while he was dancing. So again, if you take a gun and you just put it in your pocket and it's not in a holster or anything, and then you're dancing, maybe he had keys in there with it or what, like something obviously pulled that trigger. And so
Like,
they're trying to say now that Glocks are not safe because of that.
I think that's what happened to Plexico Burrs, that Giants wide receiver. He had like, I'm assuming it was a Glock in his pocket dancing, and it went off, shot him in the leg. But he was in New York and he didn't have a carry permit, so he went to prison for like a year. But yeah, like
Yeah.
people suing someone, that would be like me saying, suing Budweiser, saying, "Oh, you got me too drunk Friday night, and I passed out, and when I woke up, I had penises drawn all over my face. I'm suing you now."
Right. And then so the attorney for Glock says in their lawsuit that the AG cares far more about harassing the firearm industry than she does about people who might be injured by an accidental shooting. And the attorney for Remington said that it's unreasonable and excessively burdensome or burdensome. I can talk. Burdensome. That means there's a lot of burden. There's some burden because it's burdensome. Anyways, because she's going after product files from every locale where Remington sells guns. They say less than 1% of the documents would relate to guns sold in Massachusetts. So they're basically saying, hey, Glock, hey, Remington, give us all of your files about like every gun you've ever sold because we want to make sure they're safe.
Yeah, that's it's.
And so, I mean, is Massachusetts looking to do something that like California did, where the gun has to have a safety or has to have a loaded chamber indicator or has to fucking have 12 bells and whistles on it and all this different stuff,
I thought
magazine disconnects and all that kind of shit.
Massachusetts had that shit already. Like I thought they had like a loaded chamber indicator and yada yada. Maybe I'm wrong though.
I don't know. I would like to ask someone who's from there. I don't know exactly. I have not researched that, but I know they're one of the ones that are trying to step up and be just as bad as New York and California. Like I feel like they're trying to raise their hand and be like, wait, we hate guns too. We're
Yeah,
just as bad as the other two. We
it's like a
also hate them.
competition to them. I don't. It's like a competition on who can be more stupid, I guess.
Right. Because
Yeah,
that was the whole thing with the Ring of Fire guns. I know G-Web knows a lot about this. That a I forget what company now, but a babysitter shot the kid that they were supposed to be watching because there was like a loaded gun on the coffee table, and they picked it up and pulled the trigger, and it went bang, which is what
yeah.
guns do. I mean, it's just so I don't get it. It's like, a kid gets in a car and puts it in gear and accidentally drives through your garage. Well, the car did what it was supposed to do. When it gets put in gear and you step on the gas, it goes forward. That's
Yeah.
what cars are supposed to do. So, how much safety can you add to it that won't stop that from happening?
Well, their ultimate safety is to get rid of the gun, clearly. But the Glock book, it talks about the whole Ring of Fire guns and how they tried to do that at the Glock in like I think the mid '90s, late '90s, and Glock kind of outsmarted them, and they end up looking like a bunch of jackasses. And then they passed the law that Clinton wants to repeal, where you can't sue gun manufacturers anymore. And that's the one thing I'm most worried about is if she can repeal that, she can have people like Bloomberg that just have this ass ton of money just to bring court cases against gun manufacturers to the point where they won't be able to keep paying these legal fees and they'll have to go out of business.
Right, which is exactly what happened with the Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
And that's yeah, it's ridiculous because if you make a defective product, you can get sued for it. Like that's a thing. What the heck? There was one of the rifle companies, and it was like a big thing where apparently, oh, what the heck was it? Like if something happened or something wore out or it was something where like just by taking the safety off, like the firing pin would slam forward or something, like without pulling the trigger. And there was a handful of people that like said that it happened to them. Like their gun went off, but they weren't pulling the trigger, and all they did was click the safety off. And I forget if they ever like, oh shoot, I wish I
Well,
knew more about the story. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
certain AKs, I think if an AK doesn't have like a full auto like trigger cut or something, that if you pull the safety up like you're removing it, it will go off.
Oh, if you get it like all the way up, like past the dust cover.
Yeah, like if you have the dust cover off and there's a round in the chamber, if you keep pulling it up, if it's some kind of trigger, like if it's either a full auto trigger or not a full auto trigger, like the little cut for it, it will go off. Like someone on YouTube did a test with it and it went off every time. I know it's not on an Arsenal because I, tested it on my Arsenal and it didn't do it. So it's just certain triggers, I guess.
Right,
Or
but that's kind of like you're putting it like out of its normal mode of operation. It's
yeah,
like if you fucking set your car on fire, then it like doesn't drive good. Like you've taken it out of normal operation. Whereas I'm gonna say it's Remington. I'm throwing them under the bus. I think it's Remington, some type of rifle that when it would go off when you took the
yeah, you're right. It was Remington. I remember that
and
now.
that's either a design flaw or defective parts or something. Well, they got sued for that, and that's whether whatever happened with that, like I think that's okay. Like if you think it's a legitimate defective thing, then you sue them. But if somebody does something stupid with your product, you don't get to sue them for that because it's not a defective product. The cop handed the gun to the other dude, and the guy pulled the trigger saying, "How does this work?" And he didn't know it was loaded. Well, it works by pulling the trigger, dummy. Like that's how you make it go bang, and that's what you did. There's nothing. I mean, what if, let's say, the thing had a safety, and the officer goes, "Well, first you click the safety off and pull the trigger," and the guy does it, and the gun goes off. Well, then it's still like
Yeah.
he still would have shot the gun because he probably would have started flipping the buttons and pulling the trigger and going, "Hey, I wonder how this thing works." And he would have eventually flipped the safety off and pulled the trigger at the same time.
Yeah, it's like was that a DA agent that shoots himself in the leg with the Glock in front of like a bunch of school kids? And like he takes it pretty well for like shooting himself in the leg. And I always thought that was funny because he was like, "This is a Glock 40. This is used by 50 Cents and Dr. Dre," and he goes, I guess, to reholster it, and it just goes off and hits him in the leg, and all the kids are like screaming, and it's
Right.
pretty amusing, but at the same time, kind of scary that a DEA agent is like shooting himself in the leg with his, you know, issued sidearm.
Right. Well, and that's for follow up. Moon says it was the Remington 700,
Yeah, when you said
which
Remington, I was like, oh yeah, I remember hearing
I,
about that.
and that's yeah, I remember looking into that a while ago, but my memory sometimes I only remember general things, not details. It's just how my brain works, so whatever. But I'm gonna say, oh, as far as the de-age and stuff, like that's the thing. Guns can be dangerous. Like it's we all know that. That's why safety is always the first thing drilled into our heads, and that's what we remind ourselves and remind other people like all the time when you're shooting. Take your finger off the trigger. Do this, do that. Like, don't point it at stuff. Like that's just it's the nature of it. Race cars are dangerous. I'm sure when the race car driver gets in his car, he makes sure his seatbelt's tucked in and he makes sure this, that, and the other. And okay, then they go off and they have fun racing cars. But it just because it's dangerous doesn't mean
You
that
should ban it.
yeah, or you should add all sorts of crazy stuff to make it like let's wrap it in bubble tape or like coffee tables are dangerous. They should all have padded corners. It's like, oh, yeah, you could trip and hit your head on a coffee table, but that's pretty rare. And the idea they say something about their I've already closed the article again, but it said something like basically the attorney general is saying, again, they use if you're packing a Glock or if you're, strapping a gat or, some one of those stupid terms, which I always hate. But if you're packing heat, then your gun could go off accidentally. And it's like, if that's the case, then how come the millions of them that people carry around all the time aren't going off? Like you found 3 examples and the majority of them were people being stupid. Like,
Yeah, like how many Glocks are out there? Like 7 million?
right. And so, yes, freak accidents do happen, but I think something that is important for our side is just the sheer number of guns that are in this country of all different types and how little bad stuff actually happens, even including criminal intent. Like, still, the super duper majority of guns are never used by criminals.
Yeah, this is the same attorney general that passed all that. Oh, I'm redefining the law on what an assault rifle is. That's Massachusetts, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What was with that? They decided that because it's not, they didn't pass a new law. It's like the law was already on there
Yeah. No,
for assault weapons. And then she's like, oh, this also means like everything.
I think she essentially said was gun manufacturers are skirting the law to try to make something compliant for our law, even though it's still like an assault rifle. So I'm just going to like ban them or some crazy shit like that. Like she just reinterpreted the law, even though that's not her job.
Right. So and that's, yeah. And I know they use those types of terms like loopholes or skirting the law or whatever, but I do always like to correct and say they're complying with the law. It's like if you said you can't have a blue houses are illegal, and you paint your house purple, they're like, oh, it's a loophole because what we really wanted was all houses to be painted white. But we only said blue, so you made it purple, and that's a loophole. So then you say no purple houses. So then you paint it red. Or you paint a red stripe and a blue stripe right next to each other, so from far away it looks purple. You know what I mean? Like it's only a striped house. You're allowed to do that. And you're complying with the law. They told us no removable magazines. Okay, bullet button. It's not a removable magazine anymore. You can have the pistol grip and all the other stuff. They tell us we can't have adjustable stocks. Okay, put a pin through it. Now it's fixed. Oh, you can't have that. They say bayonet lugs are bad. Grind them off. Oh, nope, now you're loopholing it. It's like, what the fuck? We're doing what you told us you wanted us to do.
Yep.
And that just proves that their real intent is that they don't want any of them. And they weren't smart enough to figure out if we list 10 things on a gun that they're not allowed to have, they'll still be able to make a gun that doesn't have those 10 things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I just hate it. I just hate it for like the future generation that might not have all these things that we have now because they've been legislated away because government said we couldn't be trusted with them.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
hopefully that doesn't happen.
Oh man, I don't know why, man. Everything you've been saying just keeps you keep pinging like my little pet peeves and stuff that this dude that I talked to at work who's uh, I'll say anti-gun. He's more of a FUD because he's cool with like bolt actions and crap, but he plays up to be more anti-gun because he knows it pisses me off, and he just likes like getting my blood pressure up or whatever. So he doesn't always believe everything he says, but it's enough to piss me off. And that's one of the things he'll go with is nobody's trying to take your guns away, as in no one's coming door to door and confiscating your guns. My argument to that is if you ban something that I don't own yet because either I don't have the money for it or I just haven't bought it yet, you're technically confiscating a gun from future me. 50-year-old me who has money to buy a certain thing, it now does not have that gun. So you technically confiscated it from him, and that's me. So you are coming to take my guns. You're coming to take the guns that I don't own yet.
Yeah, that's how I explain it to like people I know that are anti-gun. I'm just like, well, I don't have enough money for a scar right now, but 5 years from now I might. But if I can't get it, then technically it's a de facto ban, and you've taken something from me. Just because I don't own it yet doesn't mean you can't take it from my, like you said, your future self.
Right. I look at that as coming to take my guns. And then the other part of that is, um, if you look at places like New York and California and stuff, they straight up are coming to take people's guns. So that's no one's coming to take your guns. Oh, by the way, we're confiscating a bunch of guns from people. Well, what the fuck? You just said
Yeah.
you weren't doing that. Oh, well, that's just on a state level, so it's okay. No, it's not, because that's what you want to do in every state. It's just fucking. Oh, I'm getting all worked up. And Dano, I sent you a link if you want to join. He's asking where's the quiz of the day. So I don't know. I mean, I guess the pop quiz could pop up at any time during the day, even maybe right now.
Oh,
Oh
I got a
no.
quiz. I got a quiz question I can ask them off the top of my head.
You have a quiz. Okay. You won't win any prizes if you get this thing right, but okay. We are stealing the patented daily gun show pop quiz, and I'm totally stealing Island Z's thing after someone answers it, and you guys can't sue me because I said so, and I have copyright infringement suing protections. So there, haha. Oh
So
wait,
the
I got to do the thing for haha pop quiz.
so the question is, Elvis Presley was known to carry what type of pistol, and what was inscribed on the barrel?
Glock 42, and it said smile, wait for the flash.
Wrong.
Oh damn, I can't even win my own freaking quiz. This shit's rigged. And
Actually,
Sean's not here, so no one's gonna win.
actually submitted that for the
Moon,
Daily Show.
Moon says 357, is that right?
No,
It was a revolver, wasn't it?
no, it was a semi-automatic.
Really? He carried a semi-auto. Huh.
Mm-hmm. It's the same gun that a famous British spy carries.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't know he had one of those. I think I know the answer. Quick, someone type it in. Don't you
And
want to win the hit or miss patented daily pop quiz once a week?
and the engraving is a
Okay, Moon says PPK.
song.
Is that right?
PPK is correct. Or is it
You're
PPK or PPKS? One of the other ones.
you're halfway there, Moon.
And inscribed on the barrel is a song lyric, but it's I'm trying to think of the word. It's like CIA. It's like the abbreviation for a song. I'm trying to think of the band that sang it.
Wait, CYA, cover your ass?
No, it's like you know how the FBI means Federal Bureau of Investigation. The three letters represent a song title. No, it's not OPP.
Oh, you know me.
This is Elvis Presley. Way before OPP.
ICP?
No.
But I'm drinking a Fago.
I'll give you a hint if you Wikipedia PPK, because that's where I found it. Yes, G-Web's got it. Taking care of business.
Oh, so Moon 1/2 and G-Web's 1/2.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you know what? You guys are both winners of today's technical hot shot. And you win absolutely nothing except my admiration and me calling you guys hot shot of the day. Oh yeah. No, I got the PPK too. I also half won. Hot shot lawsuit of the day.
Oh, we're gonna get sued now. I should have kept my mouth shut.
Hey, you know what, G-Webs? This is entrapment because Dano asked, where's the daily quiz? So he made me do it. And that's my defense. Also, I can't be left alone without Night Strike. Come on. We all know that he's the anchor of this group, and I just go off the rails. Although I think we did have a decent discussion.
Yeah.
Separation of character suit by Z.
I feel like you're the one that doesn't like to get all political, right? Or is that Night Strike?
No, I normally don't, because then you go down the rabbit hole and Sean puts his tinfoil hat on and all that.
Yeah, that's what we were missing with Sean.
But
Sean's got all crazy political theories.
yeah, I sent him a link. I guess he's not around or something.
He's drowning in pop quiz patches. He's just won so many.
Yeah. So yeah, but that was cool, and that completely derailed my train of thought from earlier. So cool. Hope everyone enjoyed the impromptu pop quiz.
Very impromptu.
Oh, I thought of a pop quiz question the other day. What the heck was it? I don't think I ever sent it in. Crap. I don't remember what it was. I'll try and remember it and send it to them. Are you allowed to win if you sent the question in and then you're the one to answer?
I've only sent that one question in, and I don't think they've used it, or they used it on a day when I wasn't listening. Because I thought it was a pretty good question.
Yeah, I mean, other than I didn't know it, so that sucks.
Yeah. I guess another simple one would be when the Austrian army adopted the Glock 17, what was its original name? Because it wasn't Glock 17.
So guns are cool. I like guns. Do you like guns?
Absolutely. I do own guns, so if Mika's out there listening, I do own guns, but I'm not going to show you any.
I've shown mine before. I own guns also. Dude, my gun cleaning room smells like gun cleaning solvent because my buddy bought this I don't know if you guys have ever tried this stuff. It's called Ezox. It's supposed to be
Ah,
like a CLP kind of thing.
I've never heard of it.
It's pretty good. I like it. I use it more for like long-term storage. Like it cleans okay. I don't necessarily trust it as a lubricant. It seems, I don't know. It doesn't seem oily enough, you know what I mean? Like it probably works fine, but it seems like it's more like a cleaner and like a soak into the metal kind of thing. So I normally just will use like a different type of gun oil, or like on the rails I normally just put a drop of grease and call it a day. But I do really like it for when you're like cleaning your guns and putting them away for a while. Because it, like I said, it kind of like soaks into the metal and supposed to protect it and stuff. Anyways, he bought this like gallon jug of it, and I have just like this little tiny can. It's a little metal can, and he brought it over because we cleaned all of his guns as well as mine after the weekend up north. And so I was pouring the jug into like my little can, and I made a funnel out of aluminum foil. Like I just kind of folded it up into a cone because I didn't want to. I don't really have funnels. I have like one in the kitchen, but then I wouldn't be able to like use it for eating stuff. So I didn't want to do that.
Are you
So
using the funnel to beer bong? Is that what you're trying to
no,
say?
no, I don't do beer bongs. I can't drink beer fast. It like upsets my stomach and foams up, and I normally get sick right after, even if it's like my first beer or my second beer. Like it just doesn't work. Anyways, the point is, it didn't work at fucking all, and it leaked everywhere.
Yeah, I keep all my stuff in like a Tupperware bin, and it doesn't matter how neat and organized it is when I put it in there. When I bring it out to clean something, it's spilled everywhere. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah, so this spilled all over. I have one of those like cleaning mats, like that rubbery kind of with the exploded view printed on it,
Yeah, I got a Glock one of those.
and I don't know. It seemed okay. Like it didn't seem to hurt it, but the whole room smells like that solvent now.
Is it a nice smell or straight up solvent smell? Because I like hoppies or whatever. Number nine. I kind of like the smell of that.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like it's like I said, because it's also it's not just a solvent. I mean, right? It's a protectant and lubricant also. Though it is a CLP. Um, so it's not bad, but it's not like good. So I don't know. It's all right. I just noticed I went in there earlier today and was like, holy crap, it freaking like smells like that stuff in here. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I probably, filled up my little like pint container by spilling a quart.
Mm.
But I filled mine up, so and he had a gallon thing, so he didn't care. He's like, yeah, I'll never use all this in my whole life. I'm like, all right, I'll take some because my jar was like half full.
Yeah, a gallon of gun cleaning. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he found it online, and that's the smallest thing they had. So he was like, all right, whatever.
How much was it? Did he tell you?
No, I don't know. It might still be in there. I'll look, see if it has a sticker on it or something. But yeah. So what kind of we'll talk about this for a little bit. What kind of gun lube and cleaner and stuff do you use? That's always a fun debate.
For the barrel, I have this like copper. It's like it removes the copper buildup, so I usually spray that down the barrel. And sometimes I'll use CLP, and if I know I'm gonna store something for a while and not shoot it, I'll like coat it in like frog lube because I bought into the hype like 3 years ago. I still have some of that
Ooh,
left.
I I thought that frog lube was bad for storing because it like gels up or something.
I think the first like batch they made did that, but I think they changed something to where it's not supposed to do that anymore. But I mean, I haven't really noticed anything on any of my guns where I feel like if like my life depended on if I had to pull out like my Garand, it's still going to shoot, even though that frog glue's been in there for probably like a year.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've never used the stuff. I just
It smells nice. I'll give it that. kind of expensive. I probably won't buy any more after I go through this, but it's nice because like the carbon and gunpowder, when it gets on there, you can just kind of wipe it off. It doesn't like seep into the metal as bad as with like just oil, I guess.
Sean says he uses REM oil, CLP, and Hoppy's number 9.
I've never. I had rim oil a long time ago. I haven't bought any of that in a while though. But I do have CLP and Hoppies.
I'm gonna say that's what my dad's got. REM oil. He bought like a little cleaning kit a long time ago when I was a kid, and it's got all the different size like brushes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, and Dano has joined us. Hello, Dano. Hello, Chipmunk Dano. Yeah, you sound like a chipmunk, dude. Something's not right. But so I'll go over the stuff I use because I have a bunch of different stuff because whatever, I'm trying a bunch of things and whatnot. So I do have that Ezoc stuff, which is supposed to be a CLP, but like I said, I don't think it lubricates as well as I'd like it to. It probably is fine, but I have Rand
That's what I get for
CLP.
clicking on your link.
Oh, there you go. That worked, Dano. You are no longer a chipmunk.
Well, that's what I get for clicking on your link.
You didn't have to. I was hurting for people to come in, so
Should have known it was clickbait.
Chipmunk bait. But yeah, so I use Rand CLP, and then I use that Ezoc stuff, and then I just have some like gun grease. I saw it somewhere. It was like NRA branded or like trusted or some shit. It's just like a grease. I just put a drop on the rails.
Yeah, I only use grease on some of my guns. The rest I'll just use oil.
Yeah, I just like I said, I just do a drop of grease on the rail because that's going to have the most wear.
Did I step into a what's your favorite lubricant chat?
Yeah, basically, but it can be anything, chat. I mean, if you got something to talk about, go for it. It just was.
Well, I just didn't know, our favorite lubricants was going to be the number one topic.
Well, it wasn't. We went a long time talking about just gun rights and strategies of talking to anti-gunners and stuff, but I feel like a lot of times in these chats, because we've all been talking a long time, maybe some newer people that don't have as much experience, which I'd put myself intermediate. I'm probably not a beginner anymore, but I'm certainly no expert. So sometimes these topics, it could help someone. And also, maybe it could help me. Like if people have ideas that I've never heard of, I'll be like, oh, I'll check that stuff out. Cool.
Your gun is one thing, but your personal lubricant of choice is another.
Okay. So I guess that's you not answering. So that's fine. You don't have to share your private preferences.
So what's new? What'd I miss?
Nothing. Just the best hit or miss episode ever.
Except Mrs. here. And
I'm hit.
No, you're miss.
No, I think I'm hit. So this is a preview for when me and Night Strike finally get that divorce we've been talking about.
This is going through the prenup?
A trial separation.
Gotcha. Have you texted him?
No, he sent an email the other day. It was like, I'm alive, but I don't have internet. And he's not sure when he'll get it back.
Right.
So I guess Night Strike's probably alive still.
I'm assuming he stayed in Charleston. I think they got some pretty bad flooding. Like there's spots in our state that are like still underwater, or the rivers haven't even like crested yet. So it's
What
pretty bad
state?
here. North Carolina.
Okay.
Like if anyone's ever gone down 95, when you hit South Carolina, there's that south of the border place. That place is like totally under like 3 feet of water. Or it was.
You would think that, if it took, let's say, 36 hours from beginning to end, that it would take 36 hours to drain off the land.
Yeah, you think that, but like I think South Carolina had already gotten a bunch of rain before then, before the hurricane came through. But like in North Carolina, like the two main rivers are like the Neuse and the Cape Fear, and it's like where it rained is where like the rivers almost meet, and like they've had really bad flooding in like the Goldsboro area near Greenville, ECU area.
So since this is Glocktober, has anyone shot pumpkins yet?
No, but I plan on doing it after we carve ours. I did do a 31 round mag dump for the 31 rounds of Glocktober.
And did that last round make it up and out of the chamber?
It did.
Good.
Yeah,
It was 9mm, so it probably doesn't count.
I didn't blow up any pumpkins yet. I was gonna do that on my trip up north, but when it got all screwed up because of work, I ended up going up. It was just me and my buddy, and my parents were up there. So I figured, well, we'll still shoot guns, but maybe we won't do as much of the fun stuff because I wanted to get like some tannerite and stuff. But my mom's not a big fan of guns, so I was trying to kind of be nice to her. Although I want to get her shooting. I really do.
Wait a minute. Who's not a fan?
My mom.
Oh.
She's one of those like, well, I guess you can have guns. Like she's not doesn't want to take them away from people, but she thinks they're scary, like just personally for her. And so I wanted to, especially since my buddy had his little 22 rifle up there. It's like I wanted to get her to shoot that because then she'll see it. It's not scary. She shot my dad's rifle like back when they were, dating or first married or some shit. He's got a 30-30 lever action, but I'm sure that, kicked quite a bit for her. Like she didn't really like it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like speaking of tannerite, I guess when all those bombs went off in Jersey, they were saying like they were filled with tannerite, so they were trying to like fear monger tannerite up there. And they didn't even like mention that it takes like kinetic energy to set it off, and it's not like a true explosive.
I wonder if whoever set them over there just didn't really understand how they worked.
It could be.
Maybe he thought, well, if you hit it with something heavy enough like a truck, not understanding that it's not tonnage.
Well, regardless, they're going to try to use it to, unfortunately, probably try to ban that stuff at some point.
Right. Well, they tried that when the dumbass filled up a lawnmower.
Yeah,
and then
blew his leg off.
Yeah, had some shrapnel come back at him. And it's like, again, that comes back to like what we were talking about earlier. You can always find anecdotal evidence of like one or two things happening. But how many people have shot tannerite and never had shrapnel fly in an unsafe direction? If you'd use it properly, it's no problem.
Well, why haven't we outlawed wood alcohol? And I say that because throughout the last 100 years, thousands of people have died from drinking it. Yet we don't do anything about that. Keep it right on the shelves where everybody can get it. Just because it's got a skull and crossbones on it, one doesn't know better.
Yeah, it's just something like what do you say? It's like a emotional reaction. If it's a firearm or something related to firearms, then it's scary and evil. If it hurts one person, like it's horrible. But if it's other stuff, then it's just like, well, those are just like accidents.
Right. They don't count
Right.
in their thinking.
And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to change people's brains. I wish I did. I wish I just like had mind control, because then everyone could think like me and I'd be happy. Actually, that's not true. I like arguing. But on the
Sometimes
important things, I want people to think like me, and then we can argue about stupid shit.
I think like the younger,
one bullet at a time.
like the younger generation, if overnight all of Hollywood became pro-gun, then all these young people are like, "Oh, Kim K's carrying a Desert Eagle. I want one of those," you know. And I think that's got a big part. Just, you know, all these celebrities are anti-gun, and it doesn't help that the media is feeding into it as well. And
Right. Well, that's why I try and just be a good spokesman for firearms, of saying, I'm a normal person. I go to work. I hang out with my
You claim to be a
friends.
normal person.
Well, as normal as I can be. It has nothing to do with guns. I was weird before I was into guns. So, that's whatever. But, like I happen to have a hobby that I enjoy. Whoop-de fucking do. Like I'm just a normal person-ish. So, and I don't know. I think it kind of helps. I know I've been talking at work a bunch, and I'll never change the one dude's mind, but I know I've changed some of the other people in the office just from like overhearing me. So, in fact, I do still have to go to the range with that guy. Crap, I always forget about that. This guy had mentioned something kind of almost out of the blue. We're just like, hey, I know you're into guns. I was thinking of getting one for like home protection. What should I get? And I said, what you should get is a trip to the range with me so you can try a bunch of stuff. And then you can decide what you want to get. And he said, that sounds good.
like, I've never taken someone shooting that just hated it. Like, everyone I've ever taken is like, "Oh wow, this is a lot of fun," or "Oh, I was totally wrong about this." So my theory is, if you can get someone that's maybe not totally into guns to a shooting range, by the end of the day, they're probably, if not more pro-gun, at least more neutral to the idea of people owning guns.
They at least understand. Like, that's the thing. Because before they go to a range with like their friend or their coworker, the only thing they know about guns is from the movies or from the news. So at least if they can see that it's not the way that it works in the movies and it's not the way that they say it does on the news, that's a step in the right direction. They at least see a bunch of people being safe, having fun, and even if they don't enjoy it, like not every single person in the world has to like shooting. I understand some people just might not like it, but they'll at least understand that there's nothing wrong with somebody else liking it. I don't like quilting, but I don't care if you quilt. Knock yourself out, like whatever.
Yeah, my roommate's always like, "You're obsessed with guns," and I'm just like, obsession is just another word for dedicated.
And a fan of a football team is a fanatic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet somehow we accept fans all the time.
Yeah. Well, when people ask me, I just say, well, it's because of the zombies. And then they're like, oh, you're paranoid. And then my response is, it's not paranoia if they're actually, coming to get you.
Somebody, I told that to one of my coworkers, and they're like, "Oh, you got guns?" I was like, "Yeah. How am I supposed to live during the zombie apocalypse?" And they're just like, "There's no such thing as zombies." I was like, "Have you seen some of the Clinton supporters? I beg to differ.
Have you been at Walmart at
Yeah.
2 in the morning?
Late at night, yeah.
I have, and there's some scary people there.
Yeah, I try to avoid Walmart like the plague, but you got to go in there sometimes. But I definitely try not to go in there after like 11 p.m.
Yeah, I like going shopping in the middle of the night. When I worked afternoon shift, that was the way to go. You get all your stuff done at like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's great. There's no one there, no one on the road. So I don't like real people like in real life. I like internet people, but if I have to deal with people like in real life, I don't like that. So a busy store, I'll be like, I'll go hungry tonight. I don't need to go there.
You'll go hungry?
I would go hungry rather than like go to the store on like
You say
July
that, but I
3rd.
doubt you'd go hungry. You'd just eat something else.
Yeah, but if that was my only choice, I'd rather not eat for a day than go shopping on July 3rd when everyone's at the store. But anyways, now that we've turned into food channels and we're 15 minutes over an hour, I'm going to go ahead and call this one. I'd like to thank you guys for jumping in, Matt and Dano.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Better late than never.
Yeah, no, definitely. You provided
Something.
something.
Well, actually, what was kind of odd is you said you had sent me a link. Is normally if someone sends someone a message, their name will show up at the bottom of the screen over on Gun Channels in like a blue color. And until I clicked on your name in the list of everybody's name, I never saw that message at all.
Right. Yeah, I've had that happen before too on Gun Channels. Like I'll get that like the next day when I like have to log in again, a bunch of stuff pops up, but it's like I was logged in the night before, it just never like refreshed. So
Right.
anyways, though, I'm gonna shut this down. Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks for putting up with me at the beginning there. This was another excellent, awesome episode of Hit episode 45.
Hopefully it was a hit.
I think it was.
Can I do the outgoing music?
Go for it, Dano.
Dun, 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 dun.